Black Swan is the newest Nihility character, coming into Honkai Starail. Her element is wind, and trust me when I say she is going to dominate the meta. She is basically like a 5-star Sampo on steroids. Today I'm breaking down her kit, playstyle, best light cones, best relic sets, best teams, and if you should pull for her. Black Swan's talent is slightly confusing and long, however I'll try my best to summarize it. At the start of the match applies wind, sheer to all enemies, and when a dot effect is applied the Arcana counter goes up. I'll touch on what Arcana is in just a second, but depending on how many stacks you get of Arcana, that's your dot damage multiplier. Each Arcana stack gives 12% damage multiplier. However, if you have 3 Arcana stacks, the damage will go up by a base of 180%. And if you have 7 Arcana stacks, you gain the ability of ignoring 20% defense. Now if you're wondering what Arcana is, it's basically like a new wind shear shock, exclusive to Black Swan. It deals damage the same way all wind shear and shock dots do, but it's triggered in different ways. Also, it mainly boosts other dot damage instead of focusing on its own dots, just unlike Kafka. You can stack Arcana by using any Black Swan ability or by stacking dots from different characters. Black Swan's skill is much simpler. It reduces enemies' defense by about 20% and increases her Arcana stacks. This will synergize well with her talent. Her burst gives her the most Arcana stacks and is both visually and literally destructive. It applies AoE damage equal to 120% of Black Swan's attack and applies a debuff called Epiphany. Epiphany increases all damage by 20% for 2 turns, and when it's the enemy's turn and they get hit by all the Arcana stacks won't reset until their next turn, you like how they usually reset, which gives you more time to stack more dots and Arcana. Her kit is complicated on paper, but it's really simple. She just has an exclusive wind, shear, or shock called Arcana that can be stacked through all Black Swan's abilities or through other dots, and that won't reset if you use her burst. For her talent priority, prioritize her talent, then burst, then skill, and there's no need to upgrade her basic attack. I hope the kit wasn't too complicated, but with all that out of the way, I think that's it for her kit and talent priority. This is where I think one of Black Swan's greatest weakness lies, but I'll get to that later. Her best light cone will obviously be her signature, and in my opinion it is the prettiest light cone in the game. However, in all seriousness, this light cone is great for both support Black Swan and Arcana stacking Black Swan. It is a great damage boost overall and her most value light cone. It increases the effect hit rate of the user by 40%, and for each dot it will give a special stack that will increase the holder's attack by 5%. This can stack 4 times. Additionally, the dots will ignore 7.2% of the target's defense. It's the most versatile light cone and will give and overall a great damage boost to your team. However, remember when I said Black Swan's light cones are her biggest weakness? Well, it's because most other free-to-play light cones give her close to no value, with the exception of the newest Nihility light cone. It's Showtime is a great free-to-play light cone for Black Swan. She doesn't get the most value, but it's probably your best option since the other 2 are really not good. If the wearer inflicts a debuff, it stacks something called Trick. For every Trick stack you get 6% more damage, and it can stack up to 3 times for 1 turn, and when the wearer's effect hit rate is more than 79%, the wearer's attack increases by 20%. She won't get the most value out of it, but it's her best of not only F to P option. This is why I said her light cones are her biggest weakness, cause her kit is the first of a kind and all light cones, excluding her signature, are near useless, so she's not extremely free-to-play friendly. However, if you're desperate, the next 2 light cones are okay. Even though she won't get much value, they are still healthy damage sticks. Eyes of the Prey and Good Night Sleep Well are healthy stat-increasing light cones for Black Swan. I'd say you're better off getting the other 4-star light cone, cause it's 100% free. You just get it from placing tokens in the new Penacony area. That should be all for her light cones. I feel like it was much easier to go into depth in my Sparkle guide, because she had a variety of options while Black Swan only had few. I think this should prove that it might be worth pulling Black Swan's signature or getting the new 4-star light cone. However, that's all for her light cones, and what you should aim for. Her relic sets are quite simple. You should go for and only for prisoner's confinement. Dot characters are the simplest characters in the game when it comes to relic sets. Also, if you have other dot sharitors like Kafka, you will be passively farming for her or other nihility characters. As for Orb and Roped, go for Cosmic Commercial since she needs the effect hit rate. And if you're extremely based, go for Firmament for the extra damage to get that big thumbnail damage number. As for stats, go for effect hit rate body, speed boots, wind damage or attack orb, and attack or energy regeneration rope. And as for sub-stats, stack as much effect hit rate and speed as possible. I can imagine her wanting to be the first charitor in your rotation to start the Arcana, so the rest of your nihility characters can stack the Arcana through their dots. That should be all for her relic sets. It's quite straightforward and there isn't much thought put into it. I hope I didn't make it too confusing. Now, I should talk about her best teams. This is where I think Black Swan makes up for her light cone weakness. Although I think some characters have many more teams than her, the thing about her teams is that she can fit many roles. For starters, I think her best role is sub DPS and dot supporting Black Swan, since not only is her damage through the roof, but she will boost all your dot characters a lot. This team will be formed of Kafka, Black Swan, Ruin Mai, and any healer. Although this team is quite hefty due to needing 3 limited 5 stars, it will give her the most value and biggest numbers. However, if you don't like that team or you're broke, you can build a main DPS Black Swan team. The team will be formed of Black Swan, Welt, Ruin Mai, and any healer. This team gives Black Swan enough time to stack her Arcana due to Welt's decreasing of enemies' speed with his burst, and the pay-to-win value of this team decreases, since instead of needing 3 limited 5 stars including Black Swan, it needs 2 limited and 1 standard. And if you don't have Ruin Mai, you can always swap her out with Bronya. And if you're really broke, you can do a Fire Black Swan team. This team includes Black Swan, Ginefin, Bronya, or Ruin Mai, and any healer. This team is kind of confusing, but it's the most free to play. You should just use Ginefin to boost Black Swan's Arcana with her dots, and in turn the Arcana will boost Ginefin's dot damage. Realistically, it's not that complicated. Just put Black Swan with another dot support or DPS, a support like Ruin Mai or Bronya, and a healer. I hope I didn't make it too confusing, but Black Swan is a very versatile unit, which brings me to my final point. Should you pull for Black Swan? If you have a dot main DPS like Kafka, then you definitely should, since her dot support abilities are extremely good. However, realistically, she doesn't need Kafka. Her Arcana damage output can be so well just with 4-star dot supports or DPS. However, something you should keep in mind is she isn't very free to play friendly due to needing difficult to get light cones, and her teams needed multiple limited 5 stars. However, if everything negative I've stated about her doesn't affect your then, you should definitely pull for her. And I think that should be all for this section. In resume, Black Swan is an amazing Sharkator. However, I don't think she will dominate the meta too much or change the way we play the game. If you do get her though, she will help your account a lot, and she isn't too difficult to build when it comes to relics. However, her light cones do pull her down a bit in my opinion. However, I think that should be all for the video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing for more, since I'd appreciate it a lot. Good luck building your Black Swan. Take care now.